Let's take a look at what Ben Shabibo is saying.
Are you voting based on Joe Biden or are you voting based on Donald Trump? Well, we're in it now. So President Trump announced last night, as predicted, that he was going to run for president of the United States. Now, he had predicted it would be the most important speech in American history. It wasn't, but it is important. I mean, when the former president of the United States announces a new presidential campaign, his third presidential campaign, that is a rather large announcement. The timing of it is really curious. It's strategically strange. Let's put it that way. Because if you are Donald Trump, what you really want to do is clear the field, right? But if you do it too early, and there are more than 700 days until the next election, this gives people a lot of time to get very tired. And this is the real enemy for Trump. The real enemy for Trump.
Why? He's goated. The field, he will fucking annihilate the field. That's when he's best.
Is that people become exhausted. This has always been the big problem for Trump.
I don't know if Ben recognizes, but he was president for 4 years.
In 2016, people were not exhausted. It was a great act. In 2017, people were like, okay, well, he's president. This is kind of fascinating. In 2018, it didn't work out well in Congress, but his administration was doing a bunch of really, really good stuff. People were like, okay, I'll give him credit for that. And sure, there's some bad tweets. And,
like what?
And yeah, the media hate his guts. So I'll give him more of a chance. And then 2019, more of that. And then 2020, in the pandemic, I think people got exhausted with Trump. And that is one of the rationales for why he didn't do as well in the election as he should have. And that's why he did not win when running against a person who's actually comatose. Because Joe Biden was more tired than Trump, but he was less tiring than Trump for a lot of Americans. In 2020, Donald Trump exhausted a lot of people because he was on the TV every day talking about COVID, because he seemed to be sort of all over the place in his approach to that, because every day was just revolving around him. And so the election was a referendum on him. And meanwhile, Joe Biden went back to his coffin in the evenings and during most of the day, and he just slept there. And every so often they would take him out and they would spoon feed him some oatmeal just to give him the nutrients. And then they would trot him out like directly outside of his house in Delaware. They would train a camera on him and he would go,
I'm not going to lie. This is low-key kind of true. Like, he ain't wrong. This might be the first time this motherfucker's like had a sequence of words that he put together that's like kind of correct.
And democracy. And then the media would cheer. And then he'd go back down into the basement. And so he wasn't exhausting in the same way that Trump was. So the problem for Trump has always been Trump. I mean, the draw of Trump is Trump. And the problem for Trump is Trump. It's nobody else. And the obstacles that Donald Trump makes for himself are the biggest obstacles that he faces, not the obstacles made by other candidates about him. Hillary Clinton tried to make him the object of ire in 2016, and it failed. Donald Trump made himself the object of ire in 2020, and it succeeded. Well, the problem is that if you launch this quickly, I mean, this is unprecedented. I'm not aware of any other presidential campaign, certainly not by a major figure like the former president of the United States, launched about a week after the midterm elections. This is super early. And it's a weird strategy, because if you really are that intimidating, why don't you slow play this thing? If you really believe that simply having your name out there is going to prevent people from jumping in, which, by the way, it might, then why would you launch this quickly? What it sort of betrays is that Trump, his campaign, is very concerned with the possibility of other people getting in. If you watch his Truth Social feed, you see a lot of this, right? Donald Trump is attacking candidates who have not yet announced and may never announce. I'm not aware that Glenn Youngkin is going to run for.
He skipped 2018 because that doesn't benefit the narrative that he's putting out there. He's trying to make Trump look bad. In 2018 overall is like, yeah, sure, Democrats won, but it wasn't the absolute worst. Like, it wasn't a fucking full wash.
President of the United States. I'm not sure what Glenn Youngkin's support base would be. He's a very moderate Republican in Virginia. Ron DeSantis, a bit of a different story. And a lot of speculation that he's going to run specifically because he's termed out, right? Glenn Youngkin is in his first term. Ron DeSantis is in his second term. So that means that no matter what, he's leaving.
Wait, what? Why are people saying bro think he XUC? Or XU wanted me? Are you guys talking about Ben Shapiro? Wait, why? Because he's... That's the funniest criticism I've ever heard. Why give attention to it? No, because it's such a funny fucking take to say Ben Shapiro wannabe XQC so bad. I love that.
Leaving office in 2026 as governor of Florida. So if he's going to go, he sort of has to go. But he's not jumping in right now. And so the question, if you are Donald Trump, is if I jump in yesterday, November 15th, 2022, and Ron DeSantis doesn't jump in until after the end of the first legislative session, meaning in like June of 2023, that gives you, by my count, and I'm no expert, but I know how a calendar works, that gives you 8 months to simply be out there saying things. And that's very tiring. It means you're the only person at issue. I mean, if Ron DeSantis just goes about governing and doesn't pay any attention to the stuff that you're saying, and you're spending every day on Truth Social ripping into it.
I don't know, man. Trump is popular when he's on camera. He's unpopular when he's not. That's all I've seen so far. Trump not on Twitter, not on camera all the time, losing popularity. Trump on camera all the time, constantly captivating people. Pretty good for him.
To him. Is that good strategy? And do you really think that Trump has the discipline not to do that? Now, if Trump spends the next 8 months ripping into Biden, then that would be a durable campaign. But do you think he's going to do that? Or do you think that he's going to be so irritated with the fact that other people are very likely to jump in halfway through next year that he's going to preemptively try to launch strikes against them? And they're meanwhile just going to be going about their business and governing and doing their stuff. Trump runs the real danger of looking petty. The first real damage that Trump has done himself in terms of his 2024.
What? Trump has always been petty. The entire point is his pettiness is seen as authenticity. He also has a very good method of like turning his petty grievances and making them seem like they're systemic problems directed at the white conservative base of support. The issue is the January 6th rioters are freaks. They were too much heart of the MAGA type people. So a lot of the conservatives that otherwise were like, you're right, liberal elitists are fucking shitty. They do look down at us or whatever. And I hate that. Could not identify themselves, the moderates, I mean, the moderate suburbans, could not identify themselves with like the freaks that were disgusting and dirty and sweaty and greasy at January 6th, storming the fucking halls, looking for Nancy Pelosi. That's the problem. Pettiness has always been a very good weapon for him. The issue is he tried to do that with January 6th, and it didn't really work. A lot of the moderates were like, yeah, no, those guys are gross. Like, I don't want to be associated with that. Now that I live in LA, I think I need to end my sub. It's time to move on. Nick, you moved to LA? Get ready for the crime, brother.
Or presidential campaign, aside from all the January 6th stuff, aside from sort of the oddities of what he says on Truth Social, the really big damage that he did to himself over the course of the last several months, besides picking not great candidates and not spending money on those candidates, was really over the last week when he decided that just before the election, he was going to attack DeSantis. And then after the election, he decided he was going to attack DeSantis and Youngkin. And Republicans looked at him and they said, wait, dude, who are you attacking? What are you doing? We'll get to more of this in just 1 second. First, inflation continues to plague our economy. The Daily Wire reports that in less than 2 years, inflation...
What is this? No!
But you have to submit your claim by Black Friday. With almost...
He's making a hashtag ad for buying gold? Dude, that's awesome. God, these people are so fucking dumb. I love that.
And presumably, he would wait to see the flop. And he'd wait to see some other cards on the table because he could afford to. He could take his time. He could see what the political circumstances are like in 6 months. What this feels like is Donald Trump is trying to buy the pot with a pair of sixes. And basically, you got a pair of sixes. Not an amazing, like a small pocket pair. And he's scared of the flop because on the flop, you could get a 7 and somebody else could have 2 7s. Or on the flop could be a king and somebody else just has 1 king. And so what he's going to do right now is try to buy the pot by going all in with a pair of sixes. We're going to buy the pot. We're going to buy the blinds. We're going to knock everybody out of the game. I don't think that strategically speaking, it's going to work, but it's an interesting strategy. It's certainly never been tried before. And there's a lot of time before the 2024 elections. I mean, the first primaries don't even happen until early 2024. We're talking about 14 months until the January primaries, the Iowa caucuses in 2024. So this is super early as a strategic matter. Okay, so then Trump decided that he was going to launch this thing at Mar-a-Lago, which again is an interesting move. It's not a pizzazz move. You remember that when he originally launched in 2015, it was a fascinating thing, right? He launched in June of 2015, by the way, right? Which is a lot later. That would be like launching in June of 2023, which he's not. He's launching way earlier. And he launched with a 47-minute speech. And it was fascinating because it was all new. Trump's speech last night was very long, like extremely long, like so long that Fox News actually cut out of it about halfway through. Because the speech went, I believe, 64 minutes, which is by any standard a very, very long speech. And it read in some ways almost like
what the fuck's going on? Anne! Uh-oh. I'm going through a... Hold on. It's coming in and out. I don't know what's happening. The bit rate on my end looks stable. Okay, we're back. I don't know what happened there. That was weird. It's going to be fine. We're back. Boys, girls, MBs, we're back. I'm going to run this back from this part.
launching in June of 2023, which he's not. He's launching way earlier. And he launched with a 47-minute speech. And it was fascinating because it was all new. Trump's speech last night was very long, like extremely long, like so long that Fox News actually cut out of it about halfway through. Because the speech went, I believe, 64 minutes, which is by any standard a very, very long speech. And it read in some ways almost like a State of the Union address. It had its high points, it had its low points. We're going to go through what the president said in relaunching his 2024 campaign. But the optics of it were a little bit strange, mainly because when he did it in 2015 and there was no base of support and he came down the escalator and it was like, wow, I can't tell whether this is cheesy or whether this is brilliant. It turns out that it was quite brilliant optically. Doing it at Mar-a-Lago looks like he's sort of holed up in his house, right? I mean, that's where he lives. It's sort of like me going to my living room to announce that I'm running for president of the United States. Mar-a-Lago, everybody knows that's Trump's area. If you were going to launch a popular movement, what you'd really want to do is do like a giant rally, right? You announce this in advance, like I'm going to announce, and we're not going to have 1,000 people in the room. We're going to have 20,000 people in the room, right? We're going to show the power of the Trump train. This train is going. It has no brakes, as they say. And we have 20, 30,000, like we'll fill a stadium with people who love Donald Trump. And it'll scare the living bejesus out of everybody because we'll be out there with a giant crowd. Instead, he launched it at Mar-a-Lago, essentially in his backyard, in a ballroom with like 1,000 people, all of whom were sort of handpicked friends, including people like Roger Stone, which, again, if you're going to have your campaign supporters, you probably should not try to stack people who are actually have been indicted for crimes, like as a general matter. You actually want kind of the best and the brightest.
What?
Roger Stone is not the best and the brightest when it comes to like...
Dog, fuck you mean? Okay, Trump, like... If Trump doesn't have criminals in his circle, he has nothing. The fuck are you talking about? Who's he gonna have in the room then? Nobody?
Like the people you want in your front row. So there's some optical issues here too. And what it really speaks to is that I got to say, just as an optical matter, this did not feel like it had the same sort of extraordinary impact as it did when Trump ran in 2015. When Trump ran in 2015, it was like a bomb went off. Like this was wild. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. Trump's been president. And so your campaign as a former president versus your campaign as a real estate guru who's very famous for being on The Apprentice in 2015, that's a totally different thing. And if you're running a very similar campaign to 2015 in 2022 or 2023, it doesn't feel the same. Right? He has the gravitas of having been president behind him, which means he should be doing the Obama thing, right? When Obama ran for re-election in 2012, he was doing it in like giant stadiums, like Greek Pantheon kind of stuff, fog machines, right? That's what Trump really should have done last night in re-announcing that he was launching. Instead, he did it.
Bro, he's acting like Trump hasn't already been doing fat fucking rallies. Like, this optics shit is so stupid. Ben's criticizing Trump like a fucking liberal, dude. Like, there's no